Do stay with me because we're going to discuss what could happen next now with Bradley Bowman. He's the Senior Director of the Centre on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies, and he joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Well, thanks for taking time to speak to us here on the programme. This is, of course, a key test for the Trump presidency in what perhaps could be its final year. What did you make of the president's address?
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you. On balance, I found the president's speech to be positive. I think at this moment, we should be looking to de-escalate the kinetic military crisis and to encourage all parties to try to come back to the negotiating table. After all, I think it's important to remember that from an American perspective, Iran is the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism, and they have a long track record of pursuing a nuclear weapons capability. So if we can get all parties, including the Iranians, to come back to the negotiating table to negotiate a nuclear agreement that does not provide a patient pathway to a nuclear weapons capability like the joint JCPOA did, that would be a good thing. I think Iran knows that as long as the U.S. remains somewhat divided from its the EU3 in particular, they can exploit those wedges to try to continue its malign behavior. So hopefully at this moment, there was a very strong statement from NATO in the last 24 hours, from the EU3 more precisely, supportive of diplomacy, supportive of continuing the counter-ISIS mission and highlighting Iran's long-term malign behavior. So at this moment, if the U.S. and the EU3 in particular could unify and eliminate some of the disagreements, we can disagree on what the Trump administration did, in terms of nixing or fixing the Iran deal. There's lots we can debate for years and decades to come. But at this moment, what is the goal? The goal is to prevent Iran from having the world's most dangerous weapon. And we're going to be more successful in achieving that outcome if the U.S. and our allies unite, particularly at this moment, and do all possible to try to get Iran back to the negotiating table in good faith, to finalize an Iran nuclear agreement that's not riddled with flaws, including weak clauses on its ballistic missile program, which we've seen them use here in the last 24 hours, and also sunset clauses. If Iran doesn't want a nuclear weapon, one wonders why they were so insistent on temporary restrictions in the joint JCPOA. So those are some of the things that we could address in a stronger deal.
Well, you're calling on for the United States allies to come together now with Washington in order to bring Iran back to the talks table. But do you feel that, one step forward is really you've taken quite a few steps back by President Trump ordering this assassination of General Soleimani?
Yeah, I think good allies and people of good faith can disagree on this strike. There's no question that it was a robust action. There's also no question in my mind, as someone who served in the U.S. military and who has friends that did not come home to their families because of General Soleimani and people associated with him, that he was an evil man. The rough estimate, the precise estimate of the Department of Defense is that Iraqi Shia groups supported by Soleimani's Quds force are responsible for the death of more than 600 Americans in Iraq from 2003 to 2011, not to mention everything he has done with Hezbollah and in Syria, support for crimes against humanity there. So this is an evil man. I'm not someone who celebrates the death even of evil people, but he's an evil man, and we're better that he's no longer with us. It was a robust step with significant second, third-order effects, no doubt, but he was a terrorist, no question. He was also the leading general in Iran's military, so that makes an added wrinkle here. We can debate these things back and forth. We can debate the wisdom of reading the Iran nuclear deal, but can we just for a moment, as allies, as NATO members, remind ourselves what is the objective? The objective is to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon and curbing/ending its terrorist activities. Can the U.S., can the EU3 agree on that? I think we can. So if we start from there, maybe that would help us to set aside some of the more petty and partisan things that we've seen and try to make progress.
Is it petty and partisan to not let your allies know what you're doing before you carry out such a fatal action?
It's a fair question. I'm not here to defend everything the Trump administration does. I've been critical of what the Trump administration did in Syria. I was critical of President Trump's disposition toward Hong Kong. I could go on for a long time. So I'm not here to say everything the Trump administration has done is perfect. There's so much that the president says that I find deeply problematic. I am a strong and ardent supporter for the NATO alliance. The NATO alliance is America's great, grand strategic asset. So I would do much of this differently. But what I'm trying to focus on are the most important things in the path forward.
Bradley Bowman, Senior Director of the Centre on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies. Thanks for joining us here on Euronews Now.